Hi, Cherie Hansen here. I'm reading to you from the new blog that I put up when I was reading the book DNA is Not Destiny by a UBC professor, Stephen Hine, that has some fascinating information about the cultural construct of races. The author uses the acronym WEIRD to underline how marginal the group that runs North American society is in actuality. Western educated, industrialized, rich and democratic people see themselves as somehow select and justifiably holding power. Much of the mythology of this group's beliefs are not upheld by actual scientific studies. There are more and more details emerging about the very perplexing complexity of DNA. For instance, it is necessary to examine 500,000 SNPs on a gene chip to predict merely one half of the individual's variant in IQ. A single nucleotide polymorphism, or SNP, is a variant in a single nucleotide that occurs at a specific position in a genome, where each variation is present to some appreciable degree within a population. The more research is done, the more incredibly vast the structure of DNA shows itself to be. And what of environment? Americans from the southern United States respond more aggressively to insults than do those who dwell in the northern part of the country. What about the issue of cultural conditioning? Why do Japanese people look more at the background of photographs than any other nationalities? Why is it that Russians are less likely to get depressed? One thing that has clearly established in the studies is that IQ emerges from what we are able to learn about our environment. It is the result of intention and curiosity. The focus on eugenics is a current and recurrent theme in the history of attitude toward humankind. The extreme was the Nazi intention to cleanse certain undesirables from the breeding pool. However, that idea was already present in the world at large. It was not a new thought. In 1924, at the Kansas Free Fair, there were displays of desirable qualities that should exist in a human being. People were encouraged to complete questionnaires. Fair attendees allowed measurements of their bodies, medical inspections, physical challenges of tests, and IQ tests. Were they and their family fitting within the parameters of those that are fit to reproduce? In 1927, the state of Virginia systematically sterilized institutionalized individuals who were denied the right to procreate. Many great writers and thinkers of the day touted eugenics. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. It is better for all of the world if, instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. 3 generations of imbeciles is enough, he said. At this time, 60,000 Americans were sterilized, and more minority races, of course, bore the brunt of this institutional selection. Similar mandatory sterilization regimes emerged in Canada, Sweden, Japan, and Latin America well into the 1970s. Alexander Graham Bell was the chair of the Board of Scientific Advisors to the Eugenics Record Office. H.G. Wells, George Bernard Shaw, the Rockefeller family, Carnegie, Guggenheim, Eastman, Kellogg, and Vanderbilt all touted the necessity for selective breeding, which results in the neutering of certain adults as undesirable. In the year 1928, it was possible to take a eugenics course to study the necessity for systematic sterilization on the campus of 376 universities. Teddy Roosevelt said in his speeches, "The right kind of people need to have children for their country." Does that sound familiar? W.E. Du Bois spoke to the need that only fit blacks be allowed to reproduce. In Canada, Tommy Douglas in 1933 wrote his master's thesis about the necessity of addressing a country's social ill with biological solutions. Margaret Sanger, the Sierra Club, Save the Redwoods organization all spoke out for the necessity of selective breeding to get that perfect race. The redwood became the symbol for the great race of humans. Where is Western thinking at the current time? We have invented the methodologies to check on the rightness of a child's DNA before birth, or even before implantation into a body. Amniocentesis, cell-free DNA fetal screening, PGD, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, and cloning are all the results of the studies about desirability of offspring. And now CRISP can tag DNA for the purpose of swapping out certain traits. The world has entered a genetic engineering arms race. The desirability of sperm has led to California cryobanks, wherein mate value is cataloged in files. At the present time, 20% of Americans like the concept of genetically engineering a child. These people fit the profile of those who are maximizers. These individuals always want to know what the deal is and how they can find the very best. Another group, which is delineated as the satisfiers, only want to achieve a level of personal satisfaction with their choice. Hein asks the question, would our efforts to engineer our children leave society without the mental illnesses that have spurred some of humanity's greatest creations? With the intense focus on the gene and genetic imprinting and decades of experimentation, science has arrived at a point of knowing what we are not able to engineer with our biological customizations. And these are intelligence, attractiveness, personality traits, and height. The conclusion that the book underlines is that science has become obsessed with finding a simple answer to the questions of humankind. The National Institute of Health has spent 4 times the money on genomics research than it has ever spent on the study of behavior and social science combined. We want simple stories. We want simple answers. For all of our searching, we have only found that all humans on the face of the earth are related within 79 generations of each other. We are the same race. Our concepts of racial separation are no more than social constructs and do not exist in biology. We have overestimated the effect of a gene's influence on an individual human being, and we have underestimated the dynamics of behavior and social conditioning. The questions are just beginning. But when we see groups of people chanting hatred of another group that they wish to extinguish, we are back to uneducated and unaware thinking. We are all the same family. That is proven in DNA studies. Thank you.